Hey guys, help, I'm stuck in my room here. Since I'm stuck in this purgatory forever, I have decided to rank all the Fire Emblem games. At least the ones that I play, technically. And, all this being said, I'm a massive fan of them. Played most of them as the only ones I really haven't played are the ones that obviously are super old and frankly you should only play if you just kind of want to see the gaming industry at the time. Or the gameplay or character just really didn't vibe with me enough to make me want to like finish playing them. But for the majority of everything else, I have played. And with that being said, let's start with Fire Emblem 4. I did not play it all through, but just didn't really vibe with me. But in an objective sense, I could give it a. Frankly, this is the game that easily needs like the remake treatment the most. I see a lot of people in like the community constantly talking about they want a remake, and honestly, yeah, like the bones of a really like amazing story, frankly, on the side of like Three Houses is there. It's just really old, man. Like really, and it's all, and the only reason us Westerners can enjoy it is because of a translation patch. You know, God bless the translators, of course, that gave us the chance to even be able to play it. You know, I just wasn't really able to get into it as much as I was able to the Game Boy era games and onward. But I wanted to be objective with it. I know it's got an amazing story. Really like Sigurd and Engage. Got the funny face meme also helps. Uh, I just don't want to disrespect it by putting it any lower than B. Next, Fire Emblem 6 for the Game Boy. What put you here? Okay, so Fire Emblem 6 has like a number of problems. But, but, I like to view Fire Emblem 6 as like the vanilla, the base template of like the Fire Emblem story. And like what I mean by that is that like it flirts with the kind of ideas that would make like other, future, in particular the Game Boy entries, like good to great. So, the main lord really have a problem with Roy as a character. Some of his supports are, but man, okay, so those that know, Roy is notoriously like a weak lord. Which, given you have to play as, he's kinda a problem. I know some people complain about Erica and Fire Emblem 8 for being weak. Boy, if those people knew how bad it got. God, he falls off so freaking hard. He is like a Jagan in a sense, the Lord of just how bad it falls out. And then at like the last millisecond of the game, he gets like a promotion where he's like good. Fun fact, apparently the devs realized that Roy might be so damn weak he wouldn't be able, excuse me, to kill the final boss. So they had to make the final boss super easy with his fancy sword. That's how much they realized they screwed up. God, that's funny. But for the other parts of the game, would you enjoy it if you've played like the mainline games and you know how to do some hacking? Honestly, yeah. It's definitely worth like a single playthrough to maybe even a second playthrough if you just want to go on like the higher difficulty. Real mad lad, maybe play on the highest first time. It's enjoyable. The mechanics are good. I really like the Game Boy games. Honestly, a lot more than I thought I would. Frankly, just as much as in some ways the mainline one at Post Awakening. Um, it's just one of those things where it's like it's not great, but it's good. And because I know what comes after, I think I'm willing to give it a B. Obviously, I like Fire Emblem games, so my bias will be, a bit present. But I think B, like the lowest B, if I could, there. Where could I see? No, no. I liked a fair amount of the characters. The villain's alright. He really does need, like, a bit of a rewrite where, like, he makes a bit more sense. Basically, he likes dragons because he's a filthy simp and doesn't like humans. And in Fire Emblem 7, you figure out why, but I mean, kind of ridiculous, but somewhat intimidating, I guess. He's okay. Like, a lot of the elements just go, it's okay. They're good. But type of Fire Emblem gameplay that, you know, I just enjoy from the Game Boy era is there, and frankly, that's what kept me going through it. And the story's serviceable enough. Yeah, you can stay there for now, Roy. Moon and Star, for we have a good one. Fire Emblem Three Houses. I know some people don't like it, but frankly, I don't know what those people are talking about. If you're like a pure, unless maybe you're just a purely mechanic man. You know, the gameplay, if you will, I could understand. But me, I need a flavor of both, really, to keep me going really invested. And Three Houses comes packed with good story. 3 branching paths, technically 4, but basically 3. Really amazing cast of characters, really amazing main story. There's a lot of mystery, and I like a good mystery in my game. I really do. In it, that gets answered throughout the story. I'm constantly learning more the more I play. It's politics, it's interesting. The characters actually have actual motivations. The villain actually is relatable, and you might even agree with him, in fact. The only weak point, honestly, about Three Houses is the Agarthans. You guys can say that I'm a freaking clown simp for saying this, but it's true. Franya should have been a recruitable character. I'm not... Listen, I know someone just say that for the tits, but hear me out. Fire Emblem has always been about, in a sense, doing the right thing, saving the world, and making friends along the way. And with those friends, you normally... Like, when the enemy character from the enemy nation is recruited, you normally, through the supports, get an idea of why the nation is fighting, what does the average person live like, and, like, essentially you get the other viewpoint of the war. Sometimes the character will say that, you know, after being with the main crew of cast, that their positions were wrong, their perspective was wrong. Jill from Path of Radiance is definitely the best example of this. The only person that can become an enemy after you recruit them. Farja is an example of this. You get an idea of like what it's like to be like a dark priest, essentially. Awakening had like the DLC where you got like all the villains to like join up with you. You know, it's just a lot of like interesting like character interactions. But you want to know who is the most evilest mofos in this game? Have essentially no redeeming qualities and are just evil because essentially, like, they have a bit of lore. Not sure if that'd be, like, spoilers, but the Agarthans are just plainly evil, and there's no character to relate with. Franya could have been one. It would have been awkward, but frankly, I mean, like, come on. In Awakening, you can literally recruit, like, all the bad guys into your roster. And, like, Fire Emblem protagonists do some goofy things as well. Obviously, the most funniest example is the Child Soldiers one. Yeah, so to me, come on. All the bad characters we bring to our side are just, oh, okay, but Krana who stabs you, a spoiler, it's just beyond redemption. I mean, come on. It would have, even if it didn't make a whole lot of sense, and maybe the redemption wouldn't be necessary, I still would like to get, like, an actual Agarthan perspective. Frankly, only real weak point I would say, I think the map design could definitely be better. Engage really, like, steps up the map design a whole lot better, which I greatly appreciate. Maddening difficulties, pretty BS, but once you get out of, like, the first... it becomes a lot more manageable. A lot of customization, if you like that. You want all your people to be Wyvern Knights? Go for it. You want all your people to be Great Knights? I don't know why you would do that, but sure, go for it. You can make all your characters whatever you want, including mages, into just bow people and sword people into mages. You know, the world's your oyster if you're willing to put in the goofy investment. I really just got basically, other than that, like no negative things to say. Yeah, S tier. Fire Emblem 7. Yeah, we'll put you here. Some people might prefer to be at S. And if I have a feeling those people probably played 7 first as one of their first Fire Emblem games. See, Fire Emblem 7 is special because it awakened a lot of things in people. I'm not just talking about like Lynn's Fies. This, the first Fire Emblem game to be released in the West, and people really liked it. This is the birthplace of the Fire Emblem fanboy, essentially, for a lot of Western fans. Frankly, I'd like to meet someone whose fanboy was like 6 in the East, but hey, for us, it's the West. Fire Emblem 7. It's basically Fire Emblem 6, but an upgrade in basically every regard. The lords, minus Lynn, are strong. Okay, Lynn's got some utility, not as bad as Roy. It's just that, like, the chance of her being strength screwed is very high. And if you're playing on hard mode, you get base stat Lynn, essentially. Just bad. But that's like a minor thing. Both of the lords are good. Hector's a complete bro. Love the guy. The characters are all, like, essentially an upgrade. The villain is far more intimidating. I feel like, well, Fire Emblem 6 does have the final boss theme that I really like. Oh, God, I haven't talked about the music. Amazing music here. Good music here. A lot of it's kind of plain in 6, but the final boss theme with the organ going on in the background, ooh, that's good. Really like that one in 6. Frankly, probably the only good thing about that final boss fight, given how simple it is. But still, back to 7. Yeah, it's just good on, like, characters, good story. Gameplay is obviously very similar, but a bit, accessible. Yeah, I'd say it. I think 6 is probably harder than 7. You know, definitely, it's hard on hard, normal on normal, so there's no, like, crazy difficult spikes if you want to get into, like, this one as your first. Just enjoyable, like, throughout. Was never bored playing it, enjoyed all my time with it. Heck to hard mode, changes around some stuff, so playing on the higher difficulty still makes it fresh. I really like that they decided to do that. Easily could have just made the same story, but, you know, enemies with higher stat. But heck to hard mode changes some stuff around, and that's great. Characters, like some standing characters. Probably Nino, probably the one that everyone thinks of the most. Oh, and the villains. You know, some of them actually are a bit more relatable than in 6. You know, 6 kind of flirted with, like, sympathetic villains, but 7's like the one that I think like really nailed it down in the Game Boy era. Yeah. Just a A rank, great recommend. I hate Radiant. I really, really hate Radiant. In fact, I'm putting you right here so I can talk about this bad boy. Frankly, okay, one thing I'm gonna say right now. If we're talking about story, honestly, I'm somewhere between like here and here. If there was like a middle zone, it would go. Okay, if it was just story, half of Radiance would be right here. But because of the gameplay, You have to. Half of Radiance is one that I would recommend playing at least once. The story is really good. It has easily the best, like, a lot of lords, they obviously promote, some later than others. In some lords, you know, you just get like an item, and they're like, this is a special crest that your father had and his father. You can promote with it. And it's like, oh, cool. And some characters, you know, they have to do, like, work for it, essentially. Half of Radiance has a 3-chapter long, it's like chapter 17, I think, and it has like 3 parts in it, and it's awesome. The story part of it's good. It's like, it keeps going, so you don't get to go like, okay, so when you go from like part 1 to part 2 to part 3, you're not able to like go back to your convoy and get like new stuff. But reinforcements from, you know, your benched units come in to help you. It is just such an awesome promotion. You know, it is, God, it is such a good chapter. You know, Ike earns his promotion, man. You know, he goes from like a lord to a great lord in May, you can tell. Even gets like a look change in the character menu. God, story's great. World building's basically only second to like 3 houses. You know, you get like a good understanding of like every country, a little bit what they're about. Just like politics and like the background. Villains that are actually intimidating. Black Knight, you know, kicking open the door. Yes, villains that you might find like some simp that have like a bit more multi-layer to them. The Raven guy being the best example of this. Total ass, but at least he has like some lines of decency. The Lagoo's like racism stuff is like handled very well. Jill's like an amazing character. God, the story is just great on like every single like possible angle. Amazing cast of characters, well written. No complaints. The only thing that's holding it back from being up here is the gameplay, which is slow. You're not gonna feel it too bad on like the smaller maps, like chapter 1 through 10 probably. But once you get to like maps where there's like a lot of people moving, you're gonna have to. It got so bad, man. Like it would just be like, all right, enemy phase, and I'm just immediately just going on my phone, looking, watching a video. Oh, we're done. Oh, okay. Goes for my player phase. Goes right back to my phone. It's just it's not horrible because I'm kind of used to like, okay, this is the boring part of the game. Whip out phone, so it's not like a deal breaker for me. But it is something that I know for like people going into it probably are gonna be like, wow, this is slow. It's not like you can speed it up, or at least if there is to do it on the Dolphin, I'm unaware of how to make. If you could speed up the gameplay, honestly, probably could go up here, but you know, as it stands, you get a C. Ike, I love you though. All right, now we can talk about you. Half of Radiance makes me want to introduce my face into the bottom of a ravine. It is so bad on so many levels. The biggest reason is Micaiah. What should we go for the list? Pedophile? Annoying, angsty, bitchy. Oh god, it doesn't help that I went from like Path of Radiance to like Radiant Dawn, because I'm like, god, I can't wait to see the sequel of this, and I was so disappointed. Dawn Brigade, more like you should be hanged like the terrorists you are, Brigade. Weak units. Like, Soph will be like, Ike was a cool guy to me as a kid, and Micaiah will be like, oh, you like Ike? What are you, like, a loser or something? And I'm like, yeah, bitch. I do like Ike, actually. It's almost like he stopped the Mad King of Dayan and prevented a world war or something. Yeah, oh wow, you like the guy who stopped our invasion? She's like, okay, but like minor sports, but it has to be said. She is a Lagoo, and for people that don't know, Lagoos in Dayan are executed or hunted. Dayan does Lagoose hunt. They hunt people like her. And she's a nationalist for them. As in, like, she supports the state. Why? Stupid on so many levels. She's lived for a long time. She has seen, she knows what Dayan does, but she loves the country anyway. Why? I've seen people say that there's something honorable about that. No, there isn't. And, like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to defend the honor of the Japanese soldier that fought to the last man, even though he should have surrendered, just because he wanted to kill every filthy American. What a patriot. Oh, the German soldier that fights to the bitter end, even though his country surrendered already. Oh, yeah, real hero. You wouldn't view them as heroes, you'd view them as fools, spilling blood when there's no reason to. So why does Micaiah get like a free pass? Like, I get it, she's the protagonist. Obviously, we're gonna be sympathetic to the protagonist. But, like, she's just like an asshole. She's stupid. When Korn does something stupid, I laugh. When Micaiah does something stupid, I get mad. Insults the previous protagonist, who I like. Oh, wow. You stopped our invasion and killed the Mad King? Wow, what an asshole move. I hate Micaiah so much. She does so many stupid things throughout the plot. Idiot in so many regards. The only thing that I would say that saves Path of Radiance is that Ike is a badass, and Princess Erica becomes her own character, and there's, like, this really fun defense map in, like, her section. Yeah, that's basically the only good thing. So it has all the problems of the previous entry, but the story is shit. Like, there's diamonds in the rough, man, but these diamonds are not helping, like, at all. And she's responsible for another war. They put the Mad King's son in charge, and then immediately they almost go to war. The Senate of, like, that other country that has, like, the corrupt nobles was, in a sense, right. Oh my god, oh yeah, and there's, like, this bad guy, right? You know the Japanese, like, shonen protagonist thing? Kill everyone to get to the final boss, meets the final boss. I'll let you live if you never do this again. Turns around, you know, tries to kill him, and they kill him, sort of thing. She does that. Okay, to give you an idea, this guy... he killed... Sorry, I was thinking about a meme involving him. Killed innocent civilians, massacred them. She knows this, by the way. She knows what the Senate's country does to them. And she lets him live. Just unbelievable, man. Oh yeah, and by the way, he just goes back to, like, the city, kills a ton of people, continues, like, the war. Just L after L after L. And the Black Knight's there too, by the way. And he also doesn't kill him because it'd be, like, I don't know, unsportsmanlike. Yet you were willing to kill Ike if like, Ike's dad didn't, like, fight you. God, just bad in so many regards. I hate Radiant Dawn. I hate the Dawn Brigade. I hate the Dawn Brigade. I hate the Dawn Brigade. Despise them. Absolutely despise them. Yeah, you yeah, I would rather get my hand bitten by a dog. Yeah. F. Pretended it's not even real. Or criminal pedophile. See, now here is a game which is in the middle. Honestly. You're like a C+. It would be unfair to put you... Okay, so to get the negatives out of the way for Echoes, one scene which will not be named when Celica and all meet each other. The worst part is, man, is that thing could just use, like, one rewrite and the scene would be so much better, and I want to pretend it isn't real, but it's a really bad scene, and I can't really excuse it. But if we ignore that, the story is amazing. Okay, and yeah, maybe make, like, the evil purple guy, like, I don't know, make him have like an illusion, so like he looks like a beautiful like priest or something, and you know, then like tricks her. Okay, but anyway, couple negatives aside, I love the stories of Echoes. The music is amazing. How are you here twice? The music here is amazing. God, and honestly, I'd rival Three Houses for music. Ugh. Oh, you stay. Honestly, I listened to some of the Echo soundtrack just by myself, you know, not even in the game. It's just so damn good. God, the god Mia, I think it is her name. Like her song involving like letting go of like the human world. Like, God, man, it's so freaking. Uh, Easily the best antagonist. I think I might be one that says in the entire series, but Kurt, nothing but rice. You know, man, like, love him. I love his theme too. It's got like this noble, like aristocrat, like but haunty like song like theme that goes about him. Freaking God, it's so good. God, and the music and like story department. This is a great entry. Great entry. Another negative is that the map design ain't the best. I think some people might freak out about it a little more than it is. Like, come on, if you can enjoy Path of Radiance, this, but there's no excusing it. I just basically told myself it's different. Just get used to different, and for some reason that actually helped. It also helped that the story is seriously good. Can't say because it'd be like a massive spoiler, but a funny thing happened with me and the big bad with Alm that was really funny. Bakut easily the best antagonist. Like he has like the perfect amount of screen time. You see how like he just like his fall from grace theme that accompanies like his like you know his in like slow madness. You know, humiliated again and again and again. God, it's so good. If we ignore the scene, Celica is great. Alm is great. You know, they're both really fun characters. Basically, like all of them. The main cast is definitely good too. That like you know the crew that goes with them. One thing I will say about Echoes that I also like is that like when you're playing Fire Emblem, is that you're gonna have characters that you like and the ones that you don't care for. You know, then those ones get the bench. And Echoes, everyone is joining you. On the flip side, this means that if someone dies, they're gone forever. I know some people also. Oh, another anime thing. People really hate the witches. To be honest, I didn't have that much of a problem with them. Like, don't get me wrong, they were tough. But I figured out very early on that the witches like teleporting after your guys who are kind of separated from the group. So I would just bring my highest resistance guy over to like the end of the group, kind of like isolated, get attacked, go, lol, whatever, and then just kind of let them just wail on them until they get like to 1 HP. Because when they get to 1 HP, they can't cast magic because the magic in this game requires HP. So you'll just have the witch that'll just stare at you, and they can't spawn more witches because I think the cap's like 5 or 6 or something. So like I'll sometimes like beat a map where there's just 3 witches just kind of hanging out and they can't do anything because they only use magic. I'm guessing if you didn't figure that out, it was probably a pain in the ass. But honestly, even if I didn't have that trick, it's not horrible. And I won't let that like stop me from saying like, man, I seriously enjoyed this game like the entire way through. Yeah, just it deserves to be here because you know the map design's not best, and you know the witches, you know certain story points, but beyond that, trying to be objective a little with it. Okay, I have played half, and then I just kind of dropped it. Basically, this is like a remake, I think, of one. It has but Marth in it, and I just couldn't get into it. There's not a lot of story, characters, or even supports in the game. If there was supports in the game, and I can't remember it, that goes to show how little of an impact it had. If it didn't have supports in the game, then yeah, there you go. But I know some people like the mechanics, and I wasn't bored with the mechanics. It's like the Game Boy era games, man. They just look so much nicer than like the DS one. Like in terms of remakes, this looks gorgeous in comparison to this. Yeah, I just don't have much to say on it. Didn't finish it. Have problems with it. It's a simple Fire Emblem story. Try it with like a ROM hack. It's free that way. You know, and if you like it, hey, great. I couldn't get into it. It's like I don't really have a lot of things to like say about it because like I don't hate it, but it just kind of lost steam with me. Fire Emblem Awakening. Play a real Fire Emblem game. Bad. We'll put you here. Okay, so Fire Emblem Awakening was actually my first Awakening game. And yeah, I know, laugh it up. But honestly, I feel like the bell curve thing. Fire Emblem game is for like the normies that are like, I love Fire Emblem Awakening, and then like you get the point where like actually it's not nearly as great as you think it is. There's like a lot of problems with it, and then you go like back to like the bomber. It's like Fire Emblem Awakening's like a good entry. Saved the series, westernized the series, saved the series. To give you an idea, Intelligent Studios, people who make Fire Emblem, were basically told you should kill yourself now by Nintendo. And they knew this was the final entry. But, you know, this was it. But it was so successful, I guess it just it was probably very embarrassing. You know, Nintendo walks up to them like sheepishly. Hey, you know how we were gonna close down your studio and fire all y'alls? Could you make another? Looking at the sales, could you make another, please? But yeah, so like massive respect. I mean, in terms of like saving the series, it should be here. But if we're talking just the game, I'd say here. I really like the cast of characters. Yeah, some of them are kind of one note, but unlike entry we'll get to soon, the characters don't offend me. They're simple, fun. Has Farja, my first wife, my first waifu. I will ignore the shitty supports that involve the fact that like apparently you become like a little bitch like in the future when you marry her. Not canon. You can't force me to believe it's canon. It's like one writer like just ran in there, they just wrote the most BS support and then just like threw it in there and no one noticed. If we ignore that, you know, great wife. It's like 2 people wrote Farja, but anyway. Really like Awakening first entry. Problem is that it probably could use some rebouncing. There's no reason to not Nosferatu tank. Like, for those that don't know, Nosferatu tanking is basically like the I win button. It's not perfect, and you could die, but definitely on normal mode, hard, you can just Nosferatu tank. It is not balanced for Lunatic like at all. Like to give you an idea, there's like an IGN review that has like 100,000 plus views, 300,000, something like that, about like how to like survive Lunatic. I kid you not, their actual recommended way to do it is to survive until chapter 3, to then grind Chrome and Robin with DLC. The literal way you survive in Lunatic is to get to DLC. Insane. The balancing is just kind of all over the place. This is kind of by design because I think I was like read saying that like the devs like knew this is the last one, so they kind of wanted you just to be able to make like a power fantasy. That's why you can just change seal to reset your level back to like post level 1, so that you can like level yourself up again. And I think there is a bit of fun for that. Like some people just want to make their favorite units really strong, and I like it when the games offer customization. And the story is good. Yeah, some people might say Grima is not a good villain, but I disagree. It's not that he's a like intimidating villain. Sees, it's that he's an intimidating villain because you know what happens if you fail. Minor spoilers for Awakening. Certain characters will tell you that in the future, the main villain wins. There's nothing that can stop them, and they are sent back, essentially, to your timeline to stop Grima from, like, awakening. Because if he does, and you see this in the DLC, the world basically gets conquered. And that's what makes it intimidating, because you know what you're fighting against. I don't know what Echoes is doing it. Hey there. What the? I got so into it. Yeah, so like, so you know what you're fighting against, and that's what makes him fun. I like the twist. I like the can't ending. Chrome and Robin have like a real good like bro relationship that I like. God, the music's got pretty good one. The sad one, you know what I'm talking about. That's good when like the music, when like the battle starts with the animation, the music like continues on, and like the rain hits the ground. God, also like Grim, is his name Grimgor? Grima? Oh, Gangreal, that's it. Gangreal is like hilariously evil. That's what I like. If a villain can't be intimidating, just to make him fun. There's like the middle arc with like Valm. It's alright. Walhart, I like Walhart's theme. Kind of like I've heard some people say it's like Phil. It has some purpose, but I can see why they'd say that. It's a good entry all around. Really liked it. Okay, for some ungodly reason. Okay, hold on, I'll be back. But Marth. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so for some reason I guess I can't like edit like the thing anymore. So Fire Emblem 8. Oh, 8 here. Woo! Okay. Fire Emblem 8, which I don't have an image for. Just pretend this is Fire Emblem 8 for me. Honestly, great. I really like Fire Emblem 8. I really like Eric as a protagonist. I can't believe I'm gonna screw up his name, I think. Ephraim? The other lord. I like them both, but frankly, I like Erica the most. My first playthrough, I stuck with her the entire way. I like her journey. See, she sees like the horrors of war, and I'm remembering a couple of problems. Okay, the main story of Fire Emblem 8. I think 7 was definitely more emotional, but I think I like the characters more in 8. If we're talking about the main lords, 7 definitely better than 8. But if we're just talking like, I flipped it over. If we're talking the main story, 7 is probably better than 8. If we're talking about the characters, I think I liked 8 more than 7. There's like La Rochelle. She's hilarious, and it's like the guy like her bodyguard who just goes like laughs like for some reason I have that voice in my head every time I read that he just laughs, and they go like sprint off. There's like this joke that like they're like, "Come, we must vanquish evil. Let's go, my royal retainers." And the guy laughs, and then they just run, and then someone goes, "I think they ran the wrong direction." I like games that can make me laugh, man. It's like the joke, like, if I was not a holy woman, I'd beat you senseless. Like, God, man, there was just some real funny ones in 8. Oh, man. God, I love our show. Virgin Micaiah versus a child. Shell. Oh, God. Alright, I'm all giddy. It's hard to focus. I really like 8's main story. Okay. It's I won't say it. I won't say it. It's pretty major. Just know that at one point, I think the writers hit their head on like the floor or something, and then got back to work and did something really stupid with Erica in like the final like couple chapters, which I frankly just go like, why though? She's not that dumb. Why are you telling me that my main character's stupid? I hate stupid main characters so much. Ugh, man. But beyond that, I like everything else, like from the stories, the music, got like a couple of bangers out there in the Game Boy. Huh? Just, just great all around. Basically, yeah, just no complaints. Good at everything. Couple like areas which are like, but I've heard actually. Well, I guess there's also Erica. Some people complain that like she's like a pretty weak lord. I don't know if maybe I've just always been lucky, but I never felt she was that bad. My Erica never got strength screwed. Never. Of like the 3 times I've played in my entire life, I never felt like she got strength screwed. But hey, I've heard some people say that like their Ike was like a killing machine, and I've heard some people say that their Ike was terrible. Sometimes it really does just come down to like the luck of the draw. But beyond that, Gracia is also not here, but just put in the have not played but heard good things. It has like it's interesting because it has like this capture mechanic where you can capture enemies, right? And then you can turn those around and sell their items and let them go. Interesting. Birthright. This was actually the second one. I was recommended it right after Awakening. To give you an idea, when I got into the series, I think the Fate series was already out. Yeah, all of them were out. So I had like a lot of Fire Emblem to enjoy. Where should I put? Mm, mm. Yeah. Okay, I need to explain this. Okay, so why here? It's mainly because Echoes you might only play twice for like the higher difficulty, but you can only really experience the journey once. Birthright has, for the Fate series, the simplest and probably the best story in terms of actually making sense. There's no massive plot contrivances. It's the most simplest story. It's of all the Fates games, if you're gonna like start with one, start with Birthright. The reason why you don't want to start with Conquest first is that Conquest, we'll get to it, is a lot harder, and Revelation is basically the secret golden ending of Fates. Mixed results. But the reason why I put it here is because it pretty much hits all the check marks. A serviceable enough story. Main plot. Good characters that I like. Gonna make fun of, like, Hanoka being forgettable. uh, good characters that I like. Pretty good solid music. I like the, Eastern theme. I think that's offensive is that I've seen like a Fates kind of rewrite, and it sounds like amazing if they could have like really done it better. Cannot believe I'm making fun of the funny like smiling man who grunts uncontrollably. Garen? Yeah, Garen. I think that drive me crazy. Hold on. Be afraid to like tap like. Okay, yeah, King Garen. He's just evil. And kind of like Gangriel, he can like sometimes he's just so laughably evil, it just makes me laugh or smile. He has like this funny face he does when he's like really happy. He just like smiles at you, baring his teeth. Like, the only time the guy's happy because he's like just got like this monotone look for like the rest of it. He's funny enough. And like in terms of like a villain, if you're going purely off of Birthright, he can actually be kind of intimidating since like he's done like so much just evil shit. Yeah, I like it. It definitely Birthright also probably handles like the sibling like rivalry the best. Okay, well, minus certain someone. It's not that bad. Yeah. I think I'd stick with it. Basically, the reason why it deserves to be here, and above all these, is that you will probably replay Birthright because I think Fates. I love the gameplay of like the Fates here. Like I love all of them for like the gameplay. And so, it deserves, to be here. Because I have played Birthright like 3 times. Once on normal, once on hard, and then once on hard without Ryoma. And it was a lot of fun. And the music's, like I said, really good too, so you'll be interested. And the reason why I keep mentioning the music is because bad music in an RTS or a turn-based game is terrible. Because the last thing you want is, like, music that, like, you want music that hypes you up and keeps you interested, but the last thing you want is like sound that just it's like a cacophony of noise and it hurts the ears and downright offensive. God, that can really like hurt a game. So like music that keeps you happy and invested, real necessary. I think that's like fair position. Conquest. Now, this is like, for little girls, when here's like we put some hair on your chest, which is a Fire Emblem fan can have anyway. Damn. I think you deserve to be here. Honestly, Conquest is pretty great. Like, you can also do the Lunatic difficulty rather easily on this one. Like, it's not, like, broken. Here we are. When I said, like, I did it on hard, what I meant to say was I did it on Lunatic. Okay, so yeah, now we got Conquest. Conquest is a bitch, man. It is just... so bad, so good. The story is terrible. Like, the plot contrivances, the... Corrin is on, like, the apex of his stupidity. I didn't talk about Corrin. I guess I'll talk about him now. Corrin isn't bad in his supports, but, like, man, when he's, like, in the main plot, the club that Rinka hit him with really hurt him, like, his brain damage. Like, oh, God. Okay. I'm just gonna say it anyway, because you shouldn't play Conquest for the plot. So, Azura believes in horoscopes or something, and, like, shows King Garen a slime filter on, and then they're like, we need to get him to sit on the throne of this country, so that he'll be revealed and then we can kill him. And to do that, all we have to do is invade a nation. It's really bad, man. It's really bad. There's so many, like, things. It's like when the main plot starts, like, everyone just goes stupid. Xander, he gets the death treatment, like, pretty bad. Still, though, the reason why you play Conquest is for the gameplay. This is honestly... Yeah, I think this is probably the hardest Fire Emblem game. Which is crazy, because Birthright is incredibly easy if you know what you're doing, especially if you have Ryoma. And Conquest is insanely hard. You are so damn poor. It is insane. Every purchase you have to be, like, thinking hard on. Every decision you make, your limited resources, there's no grinding. It is just... I keep saying it's like a nightmare, but it's great. It's really great. I felt like a man when I freaking managed to, like, win on hard. I am never doing a lunatic. I tried. No way, man. No way. When I beat, like, Conquest on hard, it is such a pain in the ass. But you know what, man? It felt great. It was worth it. Really, the Dark Souls, the Fate series. Yeah. I think it deserves to be there. Go with Revelations. Revelations is the middle child. I can't go too much into the story as, like, it would be a lot of it being spoilers and stuff, but this is kind of like the in-the-middle ending. The Orin turns into a filthy fence-sitting centrist. Yeah. I like Revelations because you get a massive cast of characters. If you're ever going to do, like, an Iron Man, which for those that don't know, Iron Man is basically, like, no resets. If you lose your main character, you go back to the beginning. And when characters die, you don't refresh. Most most people, come on, we all know it. When a character you like dies, you go, and you refresh. Start the mission over and go right back. Or you Divine Pulse, if you got that mechanic. And, but there's such a cast of characters that, honestly, if you ever, like, wanted to try an Iron Man, but you weren't sure what kind of game you should do it for, if you have Fate's Revelation, I'd recommend there. It's in the middle of, like, difficulty. Like, I think the first half of Revelations is pretty... It's a bit more like Birthright, and then once you get into, like, the second part of Revelations, you're a bit more, like, into Conquest territory. Not as easy as Birthright in the first half, and not as hard as Conquest in its second half. In the middle. And I also beat this one on Lunatic difficulty, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't go too much into it, but good. Good entry for the franchise. Watch out, he's about to engage. Yeah. Okay, I did it for Path of Radiance, but if we're talking story here, if we're talking gameplay, we engage hard. The gameplay in Fire Emblem Engage is so much fun, man. I love the emblems. I love how you can turn, like... I've never seen the community so divided on who, like, good or bad characters are for roles. Because any character that you invest enough in, that you use the right emblems with, can become the tank, the crit machine. You can understand change seals, so you can, like, switch things around. Real thing I would complain about with the mechanics. This will be, like, the shortest section. mechanics, the gameplay's just really, really fun, is that I wish there were more personal skills. Like, you get, like, class skill, right? But then if you switch classes, you can't keep the perk, and to me, man, that is so lame. Like, you know, I know for some people, it's like, well, but if you do that, then people, like, will switch classes to get, like, better perks and stuff. And to that I say, good. Yeah, I like that. If you're willing to spend the money to change seal, to get another perk, to then get, like, a couple levels in that class, to then get another perk, go for it. Like I said, I love Fire Emblem Three Houses' amount of customization. I don't like stringent paths. Like, imagine if, like in Fire, let's say, like, in an alternate scenario, like, there was a sequel to Fire Emblem 8, which you can clearly see right here, which got turns like Fire Emblem, I don't know, The Sacred Echoes. And then they were like, listen, fans, we've heard you. We know you hate customization. So instead of when you're about to promote your cavalry unit, he can turn into like a great knight or a paladin, we will now only make him a great, like, I don't know, a paladin, or a third character's a great knight. Why? I like being able to choose. I like decisions. I fucking love it when my decisions have consequences and impact on the game. Like, I just don't get why you would be against customization. I guess the most you could say is it could break the game, but in that regard, good. And then if you're, like, worried about that, play maddening. Which, I'm happy to say, maddening, Fire Emblem Engage, is really, really tight. Remember how in Awakening I said there's no way they play tested that? In Engage, they definitely did. It is like, we're given just enough, man, to survive those maps. It's not like Three Houses where it's like a nightmare in the beginning, and once you get out of there, it's a lot more manageable. Engage has a solid difficulty throughout. It definitely gets harder at, like, the end game stuff, but it's just, God, when it comes to the gameplay, it is just solid all around. Minus the perk thing, which I wish there was. Like, you get personal perks, but I wish there was, like, more. Frankly, Engage deserves, like, it's talking about for, like, its own video. But yeah, I think that's good. Okay, the problem I have, okay, the characters. I like Alear. It occurred to me I never even talked about Byleth. You know, kind of goes to show how I feel. Alear's, I like him. I feel like he's greatly underused. Like, I really like how he's scared of Corrupted. Like, you don't really have Fire Emblem Lords are kind of just fearless, you know what I mean? Like, they're not scared of anything. Alear acts like he has a phobia. Like, he panics when he's, like, caught off guard by one. And I really like that. That's interesting. I've never seen, like, like a Fire Emblem Lord, like, have, like, a real fear. The thing is, it just doesn't really come up that much. I guess it has, like, some conclusion in the end game, but not really, like, that great. Frankly, part of me wishes, like, he never really got over it. He's good. Inoffensive. I would say he's, like, Corrin perfected, if you will. He's the inoffensive, nice guy, but not in, like, the incel kind of way, who's just, likable. The characters range from great to annoying as hell. Divine Dragon looked at me. Japan, stop. Gold Mary's great. Loved her. Really like Yunaka. Alfred has the worst stats. But there's a reason for it, but I won't go into it. You know, I heard a joke, like, Fire Emblem Engage does, like, the support system from Three Houses, but they ensure that the C support is always bad. And although I think that is a bit exaggeratory, it's not too far off. Like, the C supports in, like, Fire Emblem, like, Three Houses were good at creating, like, a sort of, like, mystery or something intriguing, or, you know, just, like, a sort of wholesome conversation. And then Engage, it's like, ETT, meet, Divine Dragon, so hot. It it's like the characters of Engage are not always bad. They're just a real mixed bag. The problem is that like you'll sometimes get to their A supports and they're like finally talking about something interesting. Like when Hortensia is all like, I'm the cutest, yada yada yada. You know, it's fine. It doesn't piss me off, but it's not really interesting. But when Hortensia talks about how like it's kinda a front and like talks about like life and like the Elusian court, that stuff's interesting. Because we don't know anything about Elusia. You know, their politics, their people. You know, they're just the enemy. So when you get like a sort of like viewpoint into like the eyes of the princess, that's not just the I'm cute, look at me. It's interesting. It's just such a shame that like maybe what they needed was like Fire Emblem like Three Houses had like C++, A++, you know, where like there's like 4 supports instead of 3. Engage like I don't know, give it like an extra like another like them like another support like writer or something, because man, I could use like some help in that regard. Okay. I really hate the third act in Fire Emblem Engage when it comes to its story, dude. I really do. It is so bad on so many levels. Like I said, this frankly deserves its own video, but brief. A lot of things I don't like. Rushes a lot of character development. They also have this thing, it's not really a spoiler, so I could say it, where like so like you know how like if you're playing Three Houses and you're fighting a certain someone and he's like, damn bro, you got me, I gotta retreat, and he like teleports out of there. Well, that's annoying and everyone like memes on it, but at least there's a reason why he can get, you know, away. In Engage, the enemy is standing right in front of them, and they're just kind of like, I don't know, trying to roast each other or something. And then, like, they just run away. Like, they just turn around, run off. And they're like, no, stop, come back. Darn, the bad guys got away. Alfred, you have a horse. Chloe, you have a Pegasus. Kill them. It is enraging. I could overlook it if the story was great. It's not. It's I would say like it's really good up until the big the low point of like the game where like things just go real bad, which was a lot of fun. And that chapter in particular was a lot of fun where you have to like retreat, but I'm going to keep it vague. People who played it, like, you know. I think that was easily like the high point of like the game, both story wise and gameplay. You know, you feel weak, you feel pathetic. And then just like that energy, that like that impact on me just never comes back again. And third act is just a stupid thing. Unforgivably stupid, dare I say. But the gameplay is just so great that honestly, like, I wanted to just stop playing. Like once I got to that third act, playing on hard, but I wanted to like restart and just go play on maddening. You believe that? A game that's gameplay is so good that I wanted to just go play on the higher difficulty instead of finish it. Wild. I don't think I've had a game like that, man. Fire Emblem series is certainly unique in the way that it just affects so many people. You have like amazing stories, but then you got questionable like, you know, map design and certain other issues. And then you get like to like the Fire Emblem 8 and series. So just kind of like great all around, like in both regards. And then you kind of get to like to more middle zones. And like there's like got like ones where like the drastic problems. We have you. And honestly, you know, looking for all the games, I'd tell you right now, I could probably play all of them like one more time. You know, there's just so much to enjoy from like the series. And I hope that my excitement for this series maybe inspired you to play. I assure you, if you're scared about like ROM hacking, it's not illegal. Just make sure you do it on like a safe site. And there's like plenty of YouTube videos that go over how to do it, where to do it, how it's done. It's simple as pie. Seriously, give these games a shot. They're seriously good. And that's about it, basically. I'm stuck in my room for all eternity, so if you'd be willing to subscribe and keep me company, that would be appreciative. That's about it, guys. See ya.